Good evening. This is Hunter or Cifaretto, my character name on the World of Warcraft private server by Ascension known as Bronzebeard. I mainly play Protection Paladin on this server, and the reason I decided to come up with a video today is to mainly discuss the patch changes that have been live since 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, February 2nd, 2026. So the Ascension team made a bunch of patch note changes to a myriad of classes. I think every class, some items, some gear sets got changed around. And, this is the first big change we've had in about a month. So I haven't really had any, big ideas for a video. Additionally, I've kind of been engrossed with the state of American society and the world, the past 2 weeks with all this stuff. Not, gonna go into big detail, but, I couldn't film a video when I was, reading the Epstein logs. Pretty wild stuff. You can give up on the world, but you can't give up on the World of Warcraft private server scene. That's my whole takeaway. Anyway, so what I want to discuss is the kind of the balance changes mainly for Protection Paladin. I'll probably go over a couple other classes just in some points, but this is mainly what my channel is focused on. So we'll just talk about my current Mystic enchant build, which I know a lot of people have always asked for. And, I'm not saying I'm, the foremost authority on these. I did create quite a few that seem to be, widely adopted on the server. But I've actually changed the main one I'm using now because of some of the patch changes. So I'm no longer working with One with the Light. The reason I was working with One with the Light for the majority of the time, and, Ascension kind of addressed this, you really, at some of the higher level content, if you were doing, Domo on Ascended difficulty, which is the highest level of difficulty, Major Domo, Ragnaros, I mean, not so much Ragnaros, but more like Domo or Golemag or something, the best way for Protection Paladin to, build threat would be, either, running One with the Light or Twist of Faith, and, having to sacrifice, or sacrificing, a lot of your health pool and your defense rating, which doesn't matter as much on the server. But you'd have to run a more offensive build and run Hammerstorm or Light of the Guardian. But now with how Light of the Guardian works and some changes that they've made to improve the Righteous Fury, even though I don't think that tooltip change is live, I think it is. I think the text for the tooltip is wrong, but I think it is working as Ascended. So sorry if I'm rambling. I'm kind of, starting this channel again. And so I'm using Light of the Guardian now. And I think the damage absorb might be a little bit higher. I don't remember because I very, very rarely use this one. But the current text that it reads is, it's on a 30-second cooldown, and I, just bind it here. You absorb 635 damage, and you deal 725 high threat holy damage to enemies within 8 yards of the paladin. This was not a very good ME, really, except for maybe a quick threat jump on the spider boss in ZG. That's the only fight I've ever really used it on. And maybe Rag Ascended once, but now it's definitely the go-to for me. This scales off your spell power, which makes some of these higher spell power builds that a lot of paladin gear has that additional spell power, so it gives a little more merit to spell power scaling. The threat you get from improved Righteous Fury is now instead of a 60% threat jump, it's a 90% threat jump. There are only a few fights that I really struggled with threat on, but that was when I was running One with the Light. Now you could probably run this or even Hammerstorm and not worry about it. Hell, you could probably run Protection Mastery, assuming that Righteous Fury is working as intended. But Light of the Guardian is really nice. I've had no problem. I've done 2 raids already today since it was live, just testing it, and I was, yeah, it was fine. The Protection Paladin got buffed in so many ways, not just with this, but some other MEs as well, and we'll get into that when I have, like, the gear sets that reflect a certain ME. So this is going to be a little more detailed video. It's not going to be like my gear slop videos where I just ramble on about every potential piece of gear. This is going to be a ME slop video where I just talk about every mystic enchant. So get ready, guys. That's going to be my new kind of format. Still running Armor of Wrath, because I believe Holy Wrath does scale after spell power. It's just good to have this. Like, I think if you look at my details logs, like, the paladins that build for block, Prot Paladins that build for block, I think Shield of Righteousness is going to be your highest damage spell. But with how I'm built, like, I just do so much fucking damage with Holy Wrath. So I kind of pair these two together. Armor of Wrath, I don't think they made any changes to this. The change that they made was a couple months ago to this one. It reduces the cooldown of your Holy Wrath and reduces all the damage you take for 6 seconds by 5%. And then you pair this with Glyph of Holy Wrath, you can just fucking spam this spell. And it's great for, like, AoE threat. It's great for, you know, any fight, really, because of the defense gain from Armor of Wrath. Instead of running Consecrated Zeal, which is like the damage reduction, I think it's all physical damage reduction, it's not all damage, I started to run Blessed Hammer again, which was on my first ME set that I ever, you know, theory crafted and put on the Discord, the Ascension Discord. So basically when you spam, like, Hammer of Righteousness, it deals 10% increased damage, it increases your holy damage done on enemies hit, by 3% for 15 seconds. You can stack. You know, just a mild, like, it's a mild threat increase, mild damage increase. And when you're using spells like Light of the Guardian that scale with your spell power and everything like that, or Holy Wrath, or Consecrate, you know, it makes sense to run this, I think. It is more offensive leading, and if you don't have as much stamina or, like, defense or armor, you could maybe run, like, Consecrated Zeal to get your, like, physical mitigation up slightly. But this seems fine. And it's what I prefer to run now. And then we've got the only ME I would think is mandatory, is Baleful Hammer. It also got a buff. It increases your armor by 15%. I'm trying to remember what the value was before, but with the 6-piece T1, like the Molten Core tier pieces, it just makes your armor, like, so much higher than it was, which is, you know, great for physical mitigation. I think it was... Sorry, give me 1 second. I think it was 10%, and now it's 15%. Sorry, I'm just going off memory here, as I always do. And the rare MEs are the same. The artifact ME is the same, but there is a new one. It's called, like, Aegis something. I'll try it out, but it seems like something we could use. But I like using Light's Hammer for now. I am going to try the Aegis one out. It, like, gives you, like, it basically, like, holds you at, like, 1 health for a certain amount of time. You can probably just, like, spam, like, Lay on Hands or something right after you use it, I would assume. But for now, I'm sticking with Light's Hammer. And then Seal of Command for AoE threat, Deflection for an extra 5% parry, Glyph of Holy Wrath. Maybe for some single target stuff, you could get rid of Deflection for Seals of the Pure. I think that's more damage with your Righteousness and Vengeance. Increases their judgment effects by 15%. Still Divine Plea. Crusade increases your damage by 3%. When I do a boss like Magmadar or Golemag on Ascended difficulty, I will switch it for Magmadar because of the fear effect. I switch Crusade out for Unyielding Faith, which reduces the duration of all fear and disorient effects by 3%. just in case a shaman inevitably fucks up a tremor totem. And then, I think I've used on Golmag, I'm not like too impressed with this one, but I have used it, Vindication instead of Crusade. Yeah, that's pretty much like the ME build I'm running with now. I'm trying to think if there's like any other ME. Yes, there is a difference with Crimson Defense, and it might make it more viable in like a block set, but I'm going to go over that one when I show you my block gear. So let's just go over the current like Spell Power Light of the Guardian 6-piece T1 set that I've kind of put together. So I've kind of moved away from using these like Dark Soul pieces. Still fine to use, like if you're not getting the drops or Molten Core, you know, you only have 3 pieces, say, or 4 pieces, you should run these because they give you decent defense rating and like a lot of hit and stamina. But, you know, I'm using the Great Helm, the Lawbringer Shoulders. So this is Spell Power by 17, Spell Power by 15, the Chest, Spell Power by 17, Judgment Wrist Guards of the T2, Spell Power by 17, Lawbringer Handguards, Spell Power by 17. I need to fucking reserve the belt for an Ascended one, because I've had this since like week 1 and I have not replaced it yet, because I never win the belt from Gehenna's. But I'm assuming the Spell Power is probably 17 on Ascended. I think that's what it is off the top of my head. Either 16 or 17. Judgment Legs, which I need to get Ascended and Mythic on res. Lawbringer Stompers, Spell Power by 17. I use a World Forged neck, and we'll talk about World Forged at some point during this video, because I think they made like a couple nerfs to some World Forged items, because these items that are exclusive to like Bronzebeard, I think, that you just find in the open world, if you can upgrade them using this currency called Runes of Ascension, some of them are even like better than like Mythic raid pieces, honestly. So I think they might have tuned down a couple of them, like the Ancient Dark Iron Mace comes to mind that they tuned down. But I am using this one. I don't know where it is. I don't know where the peculiar gold nugget is, but is also a spell power increase, a hit rating increase. You know, it's kind of fits tanking item, you know, stamina, strength, all that good stuff. An alternative piece, if you wanted to go a little more offensive, one thing I could do here is, instead of running Protector's Band, I'm going to do this and sacrifice some expertise. So I'm at 23 out of 26 expertise, but with the gear that I have, I'm not really worried about this. Like, this is probably the lowest I would go. You could run this. It's a Cetus World Boss drop called the Amulet of the Gate Warden. You know, gives you a little more stamina, not significantly more. It's like 50 health more than the Gold Nugget. It kind of is like the Signet of Vitality, this trinket here, which is still so fucking good. It'll do like that high threat arcane damage. I mean, it's not like, doesn't do much damage, but the damage is classified as high threat. It gives you a little more defense rating, which is okay to have. You know, it's just straight avoidance. But yeah, that's something you could use. Let's see how this changes. Okay. With a Draenei, this hit rating is acceptable. Because you'd be at 76. It's not the end of the world, but it's... I like to at least have 70. I'm just gonna put my Inscribed Protector's Ring back on. Like, the expertise items that I'm using is the Heavy Dark Iron Ring, which is a guard drop. I think it always drops off him, no matter what difficulty. This cape is a huge expertise buff. It's called the Winter Gale Cloak. It's a ton of stamina. There's only like 1 or 2 cloaks that have higher stamina, I think. And that's like the Ascended Dragon's Blood cape. And there might be one other cape, like a crafting cape. that has higher stamina, I think. But this is like, what is it? 32 stamina. I give it a little bit of spell pen. Not necessarily mandatory for Protection Paladin, but, you know, when I am thinking about, like, a spell power build, it's nice to have that, because there is, like, a certain threshold of holy resistance in this version of the game that I think, like, Domo, like, all that Ascended and Mythic bosses have some sort of, like, threshold. I think it's, like, 60 or 70, and maybe, like, a little higher for Rag, like 103 or something, or 100. I don't have, like, the exact breakpoints memorized, and I'm not going to pull up any graph, but it's something like 60 to 100. So I just put some spell pen on, and I'll explain why. I might use a different item that has more spell pen on. But it's a huge expertise rating increase, and you can, I've shown this before in some other videos, just in case you're not familiar. This is a World Forge item that is found in Winterspring and Starfall Village, right here. Right by the flight path, whether you're Alliance or Horde. You go to Everluck, and then go up to the north part here on the main path, and it's just right in one of these huts in the village. So yeah. Any other interesting gear pieces? So, like, basically all the stuff I'm using is just, like, MC stuff. Like, there's no, like, special World Forge gear I'm using. It's either, like, the T1 piece, Tier 1 6-piece, and then Tier 2, you know, the black, whenever Black Wing Layer comes out, the rest of the Judgment set will be there, but there you go. Trinkets, you know, Signet of Vitality. I've used this pretty much since I hit 60 and did, like, my first heroic dungeon. Still so good. Elder Pipe just for that 20 hit. You get 190 health with this one. There's no, like, trinket use, so there's two alternatives there. Like, if you are comfortable with your health pool where it's at, you can sacrifice that 190 for something like 3 Corners Carp, which will give you that additional spell pen. It'll jack up your hit rating. I think it's like 4 more hit rating than the Elder Pipe, which Elder Pipe is in Searing Gorge. For those who don't know still, it's right here. Like, you go where, like, the Incendisaurs are in, like, one of the caves, and then you just, like, go up in one of the mines, and you just, like, go up, like, right here in the cave itself where the Incendisaurs are, and that's where the Elder Pipe is. And 3 Corners Carp is in... Not Lock Road, what am I thinking? Is it Red Ridge? I think it's, like, down here somewhere. It's, like, at a waterfall. 3 Corners, yeah, it should be, like, right here. It's in, like, a waterfall. And this is, like, I think more like Rets used it back in the day. I don't think they use it anymore, but at the time it was, like, Abyss trinket. It gives you 30 spell pen, very respectable. Hit rating by 24. But you will see, like, my health went down a little bit. Let me see if that's right. I said 190, but I don't want to lie to anyone. Elder Pipe, where are you? It's a little more than 190, huh? So, what is it? 2? Okay. About 200 health difference. Blackguard of Rending with Brilliant Wizard Oil. This is like the additional weapon enchant, the Temp enchant, and then Brutal Crusader. I don't care about the armor pen, but it was just the one available that I saw in the auction house that was relatively cheap. Drillbore Disc for that increase in armor. Good shield block, that arcane damage. And actually, I'm using this, a lot of Rets use it, the Libram of Amphibious Devotion. increases your defense rating by 8. It does this whenever you do holy damage. You have a 33% chance to deal additional frost damage, and I have the +8 spell power, the gold magnificent polish, the engineering enchant on this. Depending on how you're built, if you do have more like a strength setup or like an attack power kind of build, I really like this Libram, the Martyr Crossbook, which is in STV. I don't remember the exact location, but I think it's like northeast STV. Feel free to comment below if you actually know the location. Where I use the Mithril engineering enchant, the Mithril polish, which is a +8 critical strike. Another thing I've thought about running, I don't think I have any enchant on it. The Libram of Remembrance, which is the Libram that increases your holy spell power by 10. Yeah. I feel like that's probably more geared towards like Rets and like Holy Pallies, but I believe in like flexible gearing. I don't think there's like one true BIS right now because of how much you can customize your build on this version of the game. That's also something to consider. When I talk about my block Crimson Defense build, we will discuss this Libram, the Stoneclad Libram. Yeah, that's pretty much my spell power build. Like, I'm not... Let me go back to what I was gonna use. I think I'll probably stick with the Elder Pipe just for that extra stam. So yeah, I do have like a stamina set that's probably around the same defense rating. And I'm at like 99,500 base with just Sankon, but I don't know. I feel like the higher armor here is nice. Let's see what it is. I think it should be like 12.8 with Holy Shield up. Okay, 12.2. Good enough for me at this point in the game. So yeah, that's like my main set I'm running right now. I just want to showcase this block build. I think it's called Blockada. Yeah, so a little lower armor. I got the hit rating right at 70. I always run with the Draenei to get that to max. Quite a bit lower on the health. You lose 2,000 health. So, this could be better for like Mythic dungeons or something like that, where block has a little more merit. But the reason why I'm emphasizing block so much is that's the only way to mitigate Fierce Blow damage. With Holy Shield up, I'm at 79. But consider these things right here. Some of the items that I have on are not necessarily optimal. When I say that, I mean these Mythic dungeon items that I have. My Dreadguard Protector is only at Mythic 2, because I so infrequently use this build, but I know a lot of people are obsessed with block on Pally. So, just something to consider. It's something, build with what you can, if you're not raiding yet, or if you just have, like, normal raid items, and you want to, like... Because if you probably have normal raid items from, like, MC or ZG, your stamina's probably not going to be that high. So there's just a couple things about this that make it viable. And I'm sure there's other enchants I could add to some pieces that could not only increase my block value, but also increase my block rating. And anyway, so I'm at about 79 with this. Now, with Crimson Defender, which was that ME that I was talking about earlier, it got a change. Crimson Defense, yeah. Blocking attacks grants you Crimson Defender. Increase your chance to block by 10%. So that block value would be at about 89%, right? You deal more damage with Shield of Righteousness and Avenger's Shield. And the way I'm built right now on this block build, I don't think it's nearly as, like, high of spell power. It's not as high, it's probably built more with strength in mind because of the block rating increase. So I would not run, like, Light of the Guardian with this. This would be what I would do. I'd run, you know, Crimson Defense. Well, of course I'd run Crimson Defense. I'm so stupid. Okay. Shield of Wrath is something I could probably see getting rid of Blessed Hammer for. Because, again, this is not so much a spell power-oriented build. Your cooldown with the Avenger Shield is reduced by 20%. It no longer slows targets or whatever, but who gives a fuck about that, really? Honestly. So basically, you're going to be dealing more damage with your shield. So you're going to be doing Shield of Righteousness more. You're going to be doing Avenger's Shield more. You could consider doing, like, ignoring, like, I think using Baleful Hammer is always a mandatory, like I said. But you don't have to build for, like, Armor of Wrath. Let me see, what is the, I think it's Pious Strikes or Pious Strikes. You know, ignore the Crusader Strike bonus here. You're going to be using Hammer of the Righteousness regardless, unless you're doing, like, single target Gazrazah or something. Or you need to do, like, a single target part of, like, during the ad phase on Domo or something if, like, the DPS isn't equally distributed on that fight. 5% base mana, whatever. It's just, like, increasing your threat using this ME with Avenger's Shield, because it increases, you know, your damage. You're going to be running this, so, like, probably use Pious Strikes here, then use the, it was the Avengers one, okay, I'm fucking losing my mind, it was somewhere, yeah, Shield of Wrath. Yeah, it's not gonna be. So I probably run just Pious. Like, that's the only merit I would see for Pious Strikes, but it does sync well with Crimson Defender because of, like, the increased emphasis on Avenger's Shield. And I know I said, like, right now I'm running Libram of Hope in this block build, but you could, you know, run Stoneclad Libram to even increase your Avenger's Shield damage even more. And it actually gives you a little more, I think about the same base stamina, at least at the Ascended Raid version. And this is, yeah, okay, this is better for stamina. Let me just double check something here. Oh, my spell damage is not as high. Okay, I'll go into the gear itself in a moment, but I want to show you how high you can actually get your block value. So you're going to see my hit rating go down quite a bit. Okay, I'm at 50.08. Let's see, is there another item I could use? What is this? Yeah, I think this, item needs to go. There's, like, a foot piece. It's so insignificant, sorry. It's probably better to run this. But anyway, just consider some things here. Like, I'm not, like, much of, like, a mythic dungeon runner. So, like, the only one I have, like, upgraded all the way, I think, is, like, Libram of Truth or something. And I've, like, put points into other ones. But Dreadguard Protector will give you the most shield block rating, I think, of anything on this set. I think the Mythic 10, someone screenshotted it, and my Atlas loot's all fucked up, but I think the shield block's like 36 or something. Ancient Dark Iron Mace, I think this was nerfed. I think it's like the Shield of Fire that got nerfed a little bit. That doesn't seem to be live. I'm pretty sure that's the same. Maybe it's the amount of time you have the armor increased for. Anyway, so yeah, Dreadguard Protector, Ancient Dark Iron Mace, which is in Searing Gorge. No, it's not in Searing Gorge. Jeez, just I've so many World Forge items now. This is in wetlands, like Arathi Highlands, under like the bridge. And then, like, the Liver of Hope, it's just, like, the Mythic Zero version. I bet this increases your shield block rating even way more at the 10. But this is probably the set that I have that uses the most World Forged items. And there's one specific item that's very weird, which makes this so much low, which makes the armor so much lower on this build. And that's something to keep in mind. And it's why I can't emphasize enough to use that ME Baleful Hammer to increase the armor on using Holy Shield. But it's the Gordani Thumbtack. This is in Feralis. It's not a plate item, it's a mail item. What's it? It's in Feralis. So, and it is right here in this cave, in this like treasure chest in Gordani Outpost. Right there. It's on, like, the left side of the cave. There's, like, a little treasure chest by, like, a couple ogres. It's really easy to get. But this Gordani Thumbtack helm, you know, obviously the armor scaling is not good. It's mail. It's 365 armor as opposed to, like, there's a helmet I have that's, like, 912, 911 armor or something. So, you have to remember when you're building a gear set that you have to think about, like, what you're giving up to get that block value so high. And you're sacrificing a lot of stamina. You're sacrificing armor. You know, as BWL and Nixia's coming out this weekend, I think, on the 8th. So, you know, with whatever drops from that raid, which is going to be more bosses. Oh, that's a sick mount. I don't know, it's just like, you know, you have to think about what you're giving up. When you go into these, like, specific use case gear builds. This is not one I would probably use for, like, Ascended rating. Go ahead and try it. I haven't really tested it that much, but it's more for, like, Mythic dungeons. I mean, you will do more damage with, like, the Crimson Defender. You'll be fine on threat with Crimson Defender now. But the enchant I'm using, and, like, consider using, like, because this gives you so much fucking block value and block rating. It's 24 strength, 23 stamina, block rating by 40. If you're worried about this, like, low hit, consider you doing Synchronist Vengeance, which is the ZG enchant, which would be plus 10 strength, plus 10 hit rating, plus 10 stamina. And so consider that. You might not need that extra block value. I don't know. There are some people that have got the block value to about, like, 99 right now, or 100, so just consider some of that. Another item, this is STV, Crystallized Amulet. All of these are fully upgraded, by the way. Shield block rating by 16, block value of the shield by 13. Also your parry rating, so you get a little more CTC. Not as high stamina as some other trinkets, though. Actually using the bulky iron spalders here because this is such a narrowly tailored build with the block value, and as far as I know, I think this is probably, even at Mythic 0, it's the highest block value, block rating shoulder in the game thus far, unless I am missing something. And again, this is like why I haven't made a video in a while, because there hasn't been too many drastic changes. In fact, there's these very slight nerfs to a lot of World Forged items. Oh yeah, and I'll show you the map. This shoulder is DM West. I think it's like the first boss in DM West, or DM North, it's one of the two. Stranglethorn. Okay, so the Crystallized Amulet, the neck piece that's both block value, block rating, it's right here in the Crystal Vein Mine. Ashen Cape, Burning Steps, World Forged item. Like I said, a lot of World Forged stuff here. This and the, like, it's a kind of a toss-up. Like, I used to say this was, like, the best, like, block value cape, and I think it is. But there's, like, an alternative. It's the slime-coated cloak. They're very similar, but this is more like general defense rating and block rating. It's probably like a difference of like 13% or something. Anyway, it's in Burning Steppes, and I will put this on the map. And it is right, I think like here. It's like northwest somewhere. It's either like here or here. Very good cape, and I'm using the cloak lining, Rampager's cloak lining enchant on it. You know, more strength, more stamina, and because my hit is so damn low on this build, I do have like the one of the leatherworking gambesons, which adds +5 hit rating. Again, Lawbringer breastplate on Ascended gives you considerable shield block rating and block value. Rune Golem shackles, the Mythic 10 version, like I could probably be at like 52% with like Mythic 10 this, Mythic 10 of this. My hands, Iceforge gauntlets. I think these are still more block rating than the Bone Clench gauntlets, even at Mythic 10. These are fully upgraded. This is block rating, block value, defense rating. It's not as much stamina as the Bone Clench gauntlets, and it's not as much strength. It doesn't provide expertise like the Bone Clench gauntlets do. But these are like Alterac Valley. These are Alterac Valley. I don't know the exact location, but that's where the Iceforge gauntlets are. If I had the Ascended Waistguard again, it'd probably pump it to 530? I think 50-30. So you'd be at 90 with the Crimson Defender stack when you have Holy Shield activated, which is always, or as close to always as you can, as makes sense. Oh fuck, I'm using the Mythic Leggings. Okay, okay. Anyway, also block value. Acid Inscribed Greaves, solely for the hit rating and expertise. I think that this build specifically is why I put the 5 hit rating on. I'm using like a weird Band of Sulphurous that adds a bunch of strength, bunch of expertise. It's the only way I can get my expertise to cap without running the Mystic Enchant Glyph of Vengeance, which is when you have this active, it adds like 10 expertise. So if you're using this for like more single target fights for some reason, you could run that Mystic Enchant and sacrifice this or sacrifice expertise somewhere else, like on the Protector Ring. But this is pretty huge for that block value because it is defense rating by 19. You get expertise and hit. Pretty essential for this build. I don't think there's anything better for like a block build as far as like rings go. Maybe there's like a Sulphurous Band that has like block rating. Oh, and one thing about this is you would use like block value food with this. I think it's like fused bold something. It's a fused bold roast that gives you threat gen and block chance increase. Or block value increase, sorry. Echoes of Ascinia. This is an Ashenvale. And it is in, aptly named, Ascenia's Shrine or Ascenia's Grove. And this one has, like, I think the Echoes of Ascinia, they do, like, damage to the mobs. That's, like, you use it every 5 minutes. The Echoes of Ascinia. This thing. Fire Gut Emblem, which I don't actually use because my hit rating is so low, and when I put the trinket I was using, I think it was the 3-corner carp to get exactly to 70 with Drainade, that's the reason why I use it. I'd go down like 60%, or not 60%, 0.60%, sorry. Ancient Dark Iron Mace. I still think this is probably, even though there's that nerf to the armor, I think it's uptime for the armor that got nerfed. Um, it's still perfectly usable. But like, I don't think there's a weapon that gives you more defense rating, except maybe like a legendary. Let me think. Yeah, it's not as much. Yeah, maybe Time Worn Mace. I don't know. Dreadguard's Protector and Libram of Hope, and that's my blockade build. I know if I had like the mythic version of this, ascended version of this, ascended version of this, I think my block would, I think I did some math, I think my block would be at like 52. So you're like, gonna be, if you're running this, and the only reason, if you're running this like kind of block emphasis build, you should definitely use Crimson Defender. And emphasize Shield of Righteousness, emphasize Avenger Shield damage for your threat gen. Not Crusader Strike. You use Pious Strikes solely for the Avenger Shield high threat, which pairs very nicely with Crimson Defense. You know, you have to realize things that you're sacrificing a lot of armor, mainly because of this piece right here. But, you know, with a Distilled Flask of the Unyielding, your defense rating will increase by 20. That could get your block, it probably gets your block up by like 0.50%, maybe. Probably that. I don't have a flask on me to like test it, but that's about what it would be. You would want to roll Scroll of Stamina 5, Cooked Glossy Might Fish for that extra stamina, because that is what you're lacking here. Where, like, there's a build that I could get that's probably, like, 9,600 health base with just Sank on. So you think you're getting, like, 3,000 health almost for mitigation. So I think all of this, like, equals out in the end. And that's why I'm not as giddy about, like, defense rating builds or block rating builds. I'm pretty, like, happy about this build I've created. But what the problem is that it's solely for those fierce blows that you get from mobs. There's, like, on this server, there's no criticals, there's no crushing blow, or there's no crushing blow, I should say. So the only way you can mitigate fierce blows, which is, like, you know, every, like, 3 or 4 attacks, it's going to be a fierce blow from a boss. You have to, like, is that, I guess, where I'm at right now? I guess it's 434. Does that make things more consistent for your healers? Probably. But I'm wondering if it makes them panic seeing how much damage you probably consistently take. And that's kind of like a mindset thing. However, I think with the buffs that they've made to Priest, I think Disc Priest can just fucking heal you with Prayer of Healing right now, and you'll be good. They can just do AoE healing for a single target and keep you alive. So maybe you should run this build if it makes everything more consistent and streamlined for, like, the damage allotment for healers. And, you know, so certainly merit to running it, especially if you build around it. But for me, I think, you know, having near 12,000 health fully buffed in a raid environment is probably better than having that block chance for fierce blows. But I'm not gonna, I'm gonna definitely do a lot of tests with this, because I hated Crimson Defender when it first came out. I thought it was such a dog shit ME. So I'm glad they're, like, updating the MEs. And I'm gonna kind of close off this video with sort of like the state of the game. So obviously you can tell the player base of Bronzebeard has declined. You know, there's a lot of hype on release. There's a couple, two or three months with pretty consistent daily crashes. You know, I think people on the Ascension team didn't realize the sheer mass of people that were playing. But it's definitely the most fun MMO experience I've ever had since Final Fantasy XI, way back in America in 2003. It's very dynamic. It's a very dynamic server. You know, it's not just like Americans or Europeans. People all, you know, obviously, it goes without saying, it's MMO, anyone can play it, but, there's people playing at all times of day. There's quite an EU scene here. There's a lot of customization. Like, I'm just one guy, so I put forth what I think is good, but there's so much gearing with the World Forged items. There's so many different levels of gearing. It's like, it's like it's kind of like a classic plus on cocaine. So people consider it retail minus. And I think a lot of people went to do like TBC, like the official like kind of re-release of it on Blizzard servers. When I came to the server, a lot of my friends I knew in real life and grew up with, actually, we all started like a guild initially, and they kind of petered out. But so like I know a lot of people are moving to Blizzard's version of like TBC. But coming this week, we're gonna have Onyxia. It's gonna have way more like raid bosses in that instance. The Ascension devs are always very responsive. They are always making changes to the MEs. It's not just for Protection Paladin. I just can't go into... I would be here for like 6 hours if I pulled up the patch notes and just read them out to you all for every single class. But I can't tell you like how much fun the server has been, and I urge you to all not play TBC and come back to Bronzebeard, because you can tell that a lot of people have put a lot of care into this. They don't want to call it a product, but like, work of art, even though it is a modification of Blizzard's original game. I don't think any Ascension devs are on the Epstein flight logs, so I would say stick to playing something that's good and wholesome like Bronzebeard. To do that, and I just appreciate all the support I have from all my subscribers, all the people that just kind of watch. I don't care if you subscribe or not. I'm doing this purely for fun and enjoyment. So, just thanks again as always, and cheers, guys. Let's see how crazy 2026 gets. I just want people to, enjoy their lives. Do whatever you can to enjoy your life despite the bizarre state of things that we have in the world and in our government and in business. I miss the days when it was like the real mafia running the government. But I digress. Cheers, and I'll see you on game.